Welcome back to my lovely IHP community and the 5D Collective. We have the messages and some stories. We were talking about this in our previous episode. You don't project when you love yourself and are the authentic, emotional, mental, physical, mature self. So here, empowered feminine and masculine, we expand each other and love, but you also expand yourself in love because you have both. And with the 5D Mystic Self-Help Mindful Stories, what I have to tell you is that it's really amazing that with attachment trauma education and more in my back pocket and continuing it, I can tell you that sciences and spirituality come together to share with us that which my lovely ancestors have always taught me through my catechists and my upbringing with Jesus, God, and Holy Spirit. So my Catholic Christian upbringing, I already knew of God as discerning, equanimous love. It's also because I'm a self-agent though. So I have a blank slate because my memory and imagination are not with childhood trauma charges, but instead I have a higher self in the lead. And so with that, we do Dharma, not karma. And I'm going to read to you. And so if you're new, again, you could listen to the other episode, but you don't have to. 5D Collective, we do Dharma because we are integrated brains and restorative, embodied, self-aware, accountable, regulating people who care to love, live, laugh, learn, expand. And empowered masculine partner, very amazing. Again, empowered feminine partner, very amazing. And when it comes to polyamory and monoamory dynamics, we talk about that too. And any emotionally mature man, woman, or they will not be thinking of integrity and values and words and ways of charges. It will be that I know a leader does not mean dominating the situation. It means empowering people to do what they would not have imagined possible. Thank you, Sadhguru. A leader knows how to transmute that which comes up, whether it's happiness, smile, sadness, crying, disgust, surprise, anger, and fear. They will know how to use their nervous system. So affect, you have a window welcome to it, and emotions, and that's why you don't need to manage your anger with someone like Russell Coates, because you don't do this thing that he describes when people are ruminating and they are angry, so they think they're reasoning, but the reality is they're not. You will notice that they will use superficial. So when people are angry, studies have shown that the certainty of anger is linked with processing information more superficially. They think less carefully when making their judgments and rely more on stereotypes. And this comes from the research that is mentioned in case you're one of those curious people, because he has the bibliography. So it is G.B. Bodenhausen, L.A. Shepard, and G.P. Kramer, Negative Affect and Social Judgment, the Differential Impact of Anger and Sadness. European Journal of Social Psychology 24, 1994, pages 45 to 62. There's more than just that, and people who don't believe in neuroscience, mental health professionals, and everything that is somatic, sensory motor, and the our child parts work don't know that we each have a body that has sensations, images, affects, behaviors, and meanings, and that it's only when you can contain them that you will be, in our 5D collective, able to be a whole self, and that if you don't know how to love yourself first, that's why you project your childhood stuff, and in your brainstem and limbic system you are with the amygdala. So again, here we have personal development and self-help and spiritual growth. Spiritual is when you have true spirituality online, which means that you know how to live a life of meaning and connection beyond the soul self, thanks to self-regulation. So securely attached, non-traumatized people, that's our 5D mystic, spiritual, mindful, living and loving collective. Welcome aboard. And here's who this is for. You choose to see what your needs are with neutrality or with joy or with restriction and stress and challenge. So some of these are messages that come from other ruins that I'm not showing you right now. I might get to that in a minute, but I want to read to you first, okay? You are able to look at that which comes your way and figure out what your needs are from a healthy place where you continue to expand with ease, or from a universe, God, source is testing me, way down, expansion. That's our lower toroidal field, 3D, 4D collective. You choose to see what those needs are that are coming up through life and relationships with neutrality and equanimity, or without neutrality and growing sense of ease. So that means with distress. Because neutrality is the land of truth, where you're going to use your prefrontal, anchor in the ventral energy, and therefore have ease. But otherwise you won't. It'll be, I'm weighed down and I'm suffering life. You choose to see those which are the needs that you have as a person with neutrality, so blank slate, and therefore the capacity to use your prefrontal cortex and look at thoughts and emotions and allow your evaluation to keep the negative and positives in an energy that is agile, and therefore we get used to eustress, which means that you know how to use your nervous system, and that's why we do mindfulness practices and mind sight skills, and the help that we have alongside it is that lovely inner growth mindset. So you know how to use your own brain because it's an integrated brain. And so you took seriously getting yourself in a harmonious brain, mind, body, self state. That's why you're an empowered feminine, empowered masculine. With this choice, you do not have unhappiness accompany your exploration. You do not have places where you feel that you are at an impasse, or that you are being tested or punished, or that life is heavy. So you don't do gut wrench, torn apart at the heart. You don't unhealthily self-soothe, okay? Life does not weigh you down because you own your sense of self, and so you brought to your own self to be fueled in your day-to-day with vitality, and that is because of anchoring in the ventral energy. Through the mindfulness, you have focused attention because you contain sensations, images, affects, meanings, behaviors, or behaviors and meanings, however that goes. You now know I am a self, okay? So you're not using unhealthy mechanisms or maladaptive patterns of behavior. Events that take place in life that are unknowns are explored in the flow state with the use of your prefrontal cortex as an integrated brain. So you are able to be here thanks to choosing to do the work first and have your higher self in the lead, not the teenage version, which is what we have with those in modulated embodiment. You have done the work and have faith, and you are a loyal person who knows how to ride the sun and new opportunities and move towards unification, oneness. If you don't consider yourself a faith, you have what is discernment, wise, good judgment, and equanimity. This is where God's love is that, because calm centeredness comes from your anchored in ventral energy with your ventral vagal state. And then you being able to completely discern is because you know how to read and not do the ruminating thing or get in the superficial stuff of anger and the certainty of anger. So here's where, if you wonder what rumination, rumination is when a person can spend hours thinking something. So when we are angry, our minds tend to stay stuck on the perceived threat, the situation that made us angry. We pick the situation apart, analyzing every aspect of it. We ruminate, thinking about it over and over and over again. We magnify and generalize it so that the only aspects of the person or situation that exist to us are the ones that make us angry. We may feel as if the other person exists for the sole purpose of pissing us off. This can also be sadding yourself off. So that's why with that Zen master and his laundry, it's very clear he doesn't know how to handle sadness with his prefrontal. He's ruminating. So it's a mechanism that he doesn't know how to implement, but he also has a story for himself, which is, what is Buddhism? Well, there's two truths to it. I got it from this Maolin Zen master, and that is that this life, this very existence is suffering. And the second truth is that it comes from ignorance, hatred, and another word he uses, and I forget which one. Ignorance, hatred, and anger, I think. So the point is, though, that's obviously for those who are Buddhists, they're going to follow that. Well, they don't have to. They can be self-agents and notice, okay, this is something that is a narrative, but suffering actively happens with my nervous system. So I now know how I could get out of it by using the physiological state of compassion and using compassion-focused therapy if I wanted to stop using the dark sides of neuroplasticity and use the bright sides of neuroplasticity and actively navigate my nervous system, master it to move into my prefrontal, which isn't about no emotions. Okay, so people who would prefer their story, they will say, there's no way you get enlightenment, because you cannot be enlightenment. Yes, you can. So the love frequency, I accepted defeat a long time ago, and today with the wisdom of that which is enlightenment, expansion, consciousness, love and fear frequency coexist. And so you don't have to be in the state of love. That's why there's free will, but determined, Robert's post could say you don't have any. I say you do, but again, let's leave that alone for now. Movement for those who are expanding. is always towards expansion and, again, unification, oneness. And this is always at play when you are using the utmost of what is your human potential, this lovely flow state, which is also that infinite higher human conscious potential that I get to embody, experience, and share with you my lovely stories with. You have achieved Dharma with Sowelu. I might be pronouncing it wrong. I'll show it to you after the card. And are a balanced energy, a high frequency of yourself in the oxytocin gene hormone, that of love, because that's what the love hormone is in, thanks to being a securely attached, non-traumatized, mystic, spiritual, and or mindful person. So here's our higher self individuals. That's why you want mindfulness and resiliency in restorative embodiment, because mindset skills aren't hard for you to expand on with the inner growth mindset and with your desire, duality, and neutrality. So you moved from dark to light and light to dark and dark to light and realized it's all really just moving from one energetic space to another. No, it's not. You create resiliency, and in fact, you move to success and power, transformation and prosperity. Like a butterfly, your transformation has brought you to more of you, and humanly speaking, that is quite beneficial to our lovely human species as we continue to expand consciously and in times of change. So you have anchored in your ventral energy when heart and gut come together to share with you, wow, some shit's gone down, Maria. Use your own name. So our lovely earth is going through its own transformation, and we know about the power of facing natural disasters and changes from space weather to global government powers and environment aspects to how our governments will come to work together, and so conflicts with resolutions. We get to support humanity by bringing forth only what is needed and removing anything that is unneeded. And so that is where we have this capacity to continue to work with people that, on the other hand, are not stable in their own ventral energy, and therefore that they can need, not all of them want it, but the ones who do need the extra support, it's mental, emotional, physical. Because your active eustress is not just yours. I'm a mammal and you're a mammal, so when you resonate with anchored in ventral energy people, it means you feel, because it's actually a resource your body would want to use so it can be at ease with life. And this is why when you smiling or you're crying, we're going to be together in our prefrontal, because prefrontal is what you do in a physiological state of compassion. So there's Dharma. People who live Dharma are the ones who get to bring forth not only our ancestors' traditions, but we also are the change of these traditions to an uplifting or uplifted, lighter energetic state. And that's because we're not perpetuating the state of trauma charges with them. We're not saying, you're wrong, we're right. We're not doing that stuff. We are not living life from our sympathetic or dorsal vagal in protection with each other or our societal traditions. We actively know in our ventral vagal state and in a connection as mammals that who we are is safe with humanity, that our human history, knowledge, and expansion with science and spirituality coming together are what our ancestors and the wisdom that our ancestors bring forth can carry on, tangibly speaking, where everyone who chooses can move into their own lighter frequency. So they might not like that we bring all religions, all faith underneath the same umbrella. They don't have to. We're not doing it with the charge, the integrated brain people. And that's the part of why the frequency of love is what comes from being anchored in ventral energy. And it's as we converse, politics, religion, source, all of it. When you have smart sciences and spirituality, we have a good time. Perseverance, cooperation, collaboration, and a balanced humanity in all facets thanks to intelligence with love and fear. We support each other to continue our lovely world's evolution, our lovely humanity's expansion of consciousness and human evolution on Earth. It is a new life that flowers with joy and newfound stability for our own inner world with a balanced masculine and feminine to our outer world with a balance between masculine and feminine in societal change that we are seeing happening. That's the science and spirituality coming together in the gist of it, the brief terms. And we are also contributing to bringing forth, thanks to our capacity to be fertile towards the potential of communication with vitality. So as above, so below, as below, so above, and therefore the lack of cold and rigid divisiveness, tones, and closed-mindedness when people are yelling at each other and they think only science is right or only spirituality is right. And that's, again, the adaptive child part. They're half-brained. They're not the people who are whole selves. The rigid brain, for those who have not integrated, are not the future. The cold, divisive, and rigid self is old news and full of non-metabolized and suppressed emotions. So we, on the other hand, the 5D collective, is flexible, adaptive, coherent, energized, and stable. And our identity is expansive. And again, we're not a word, we're a name, but we'll use words to try and help each other to find out more about each other. And so we are the future because we have the capacity to adapt to change easily as our true self in crystal form with self-awareness, accountability, and regulation in the frequency of love. So for example, for me, the polyamory thing doesn't create an issue. Some people have funny jokes to make. Some people think we're masochists. Some people think I'm using it as a label and identifier because they don't understand why I'm even using it. And some people will actually say you don't need a word. And some, again, when you're flexible, you're like, I can talk about it, I can explain it. And as you mature in your ventral energy, because that's what happens, mental, emotional, feminine is mature physically. That's for masculines too. You're able to have fun with it. And that's what empowered masculine and empowered feminine do together, is that we expand each other to be more comfortable as our true self. That's the only partnership that is an empowered one. Because there's a dance that you do which is completely full of laughter even when there's tears. And it's not because you're ignoring the tears. No, it's because you're in the body, grounded in aliveness, and one of the two is in the ventral vagal state in the moment of the other being in need of that. And so there's expansion because the other, though, is proactive, aware of their own resource, knows what's happening, and it's like, yep, I want to metabolize this, and I'm happy to be doing it because I feel better. I don't feel less better. So I want healthy self-soothing. I'm fulfilled here. I'm happy here, even while I'm sad. And they slowly create resiliency in the restorative embodiment because they're being brought to the prefrontal as they exchange a talk, not a rumination, a talk with another human being in prefrontal, anchored in ventral energy. The body is recognizing its own resource, and that's why healthy partners support each other to expand. That's self-aware, accountable, regulating. So the restorative embodiment is what anyone can have if they choose it. They don't have to have it. Okay, so here's where there is an active love-hate for the feminines who are not growing more intuitive. Their intuitive block is a consequence of stagnation and emotional difficulty because of refusing to become their flexible, adaptive, coherent, energized, stable, whole self. They don't go and love themselves first with Patrick Tihan, great therapist, or Terrio. Those who remain attached to identification with possessiveness and rigidity, or chaos and fear, they have shamans for themselves, so they get unseen. No, they stayed unseen. They're child parts, exiles. That's why their identity is with cloaks and daggers and all that. So they fear losing their identity, and they stay in a state of tension. They stay imbalanced, feminine, masculine, and will not move forward in life with dharma, but instead they will do so from karma. So they're self-fulfilling prophecies. 3D, 4D have already decided, and they continue with their stories as long as they follow laws, depending what country. Again, so it's not a bad word. They're actively going to be in this karma and imbalanced feminine, masculine. So we have codependent people who continue making their stereotype relationship between men and women sound like it's the way that it'll be forever. And with a pause self. In fact, they don't have their whole self. So they have the left mode working. The right comes up only when stuff, emotional triggers, they have charges. And so they live modulated and dysregulated embodiment life. And together we can, though, create a herd, because the 5D frequency people are the love frequency. Again, are anchored in ventral energy, doesn't affect them. And their frequency of fear doesn't affect us because it's a biochemistry of fear, but our body knows that their nervous system like us, and that their child parts are theirs, and there's no Lucifer inside anyone. So there's no fear because there's no physical threat. There's just an emotionally, mentally, physically limited consciousness, immature individual which has 5 Cusco hands at very best bet. So we'll be back with potentially more depending if the lighting permits. In the meantime, this is for those of you who were listening to our other episode, and this channeled guidance, food for thought messages, empowered feminine and masculine. We expand each other and we love. So healthy self-worth, relationships, romantically speaking, doesn't matter if you're polyamory or monoamory, those are the counterparts that are expanding. It's not because we have the fourth wave of any twin flames at all, or the 144,000. However, I do know that every year, every so often, the 4D collective likes to create a new group. So like the flowers, they come together and we rejoice that they have each other, because bonding is very important to them. Some of us bond through the fact that we are all human beings who can tap into the infinite higher human consciousness potential experience, and that none of us are the caster of stones, because no two trees are alike, and this is yours and yours alone. Grow, stand tall amongst the stars. Only you can choose self-awareness, accountability, regulation, and creating the body of you and the mind of you and the brain of you and the restorative embodiment, and say, yes, I do want resiliency once you're done with therapy if need be, or no, I don't want it, Maria. I don't want personal development, self-help. I want life now. And that's when you say, Zen Master, they need you with the laundry. And that's why we have fun, because we all have groups. And I love to love, and my baby, he loves to laugh and live and learn and expand and not cast stones. And that's why we smile when you're smiling and or crying and or angry and or disgusted and or surprised, or when you're happy or when you're fearful. The world, it's all in disguise. And anyways, we'll be back again, maybe with more. In the meantime, thanks for stopping by.